I just got back from the city where I was filming a building fit out, and I wasn't able to film any behind the scenes whilst I was there, but I thought I'd go through how I packed for the job. So I took 2 bags with me, which were the Shimoda Action X30, which is this one here, and then the tripod bag, which is currently in my lounge room. I really love this bag for how much it's able to carry. This has been my workhorse bag for going on 5 or 6 years now, as you can probably tell by the wear and tear on the bag, but it can fit a surprising amount of gear in it. I had in this front compartment, I basically had various accessories like monitor arms, the handle for the gimbal, the tripod for the gimbal, as well as rigging arms for the gimbal. So basically all of the gimbal accessories were in this front pocket since they were less fragile and things. And then in the top roll top portion, and which is one of the reasons why I really love this bag, is because you can get easy access to what's in the top here. This is the small HD focus monitor with 3 batteries. I didn't end up using this, so I think for all consecutive shoots, I will leave this monitor at home. The main gimbal body wrapped up in a gear wrap. Big fan of these gear wraps as they protect your equipment when they're in other bags. 3 extra batteries for the FX2. So the primary camera that I used on this job was the FX2. I decided to leave the FX6 at home as I was doing a lot of gimbal stuff and didn't want to bring too much gear into the city with me, and it worked a treat. Battery for the Ronin. Ronin plate. Didn't do a great job packing up all of the gear afterwards. And then lastly, if I just pull this open, the Insta360 Go 3, which I didn't end up using because I've got the magnetic chest mount at home, but I might use this tomorrow night. This is a laser measure that I've used in some of my other location recce jobs. I brought this because there were a couple of locations where they wanted kind of before and afters, and I thought that this might be a good tool to be able to precisely measure where I was so that I could get pretty accurate before and after images, but I didn't actually end up using this. So this is something that I can leave at home for the consecutive shoots. SD cards, the DJI plate, and that was basically all in the top pocket, and that was all basically in a camera cube that Shimoda makes, so it makes it easy to store stuff in the top. It's not actually, this bag's actually not designed to have this additional camera cube in the roll top like this, but Levi Allen, who's a Shimoda ambassador, did a video about how he likes to rig his Action X30 and 50 out, and this was one of the things that he added as an additional camera cube to the bag to add more space and capacity. It does kind of make the bag look a little bit funny at the top, but that's just really on looks. It doesn't actually affect the usability of the bag. And in the main compartment, if you open that up, I had the 70-200 FX2 Takina 11-16 with a Metabones adapter, as well as the 24-70, and lastly a rocket blower. One of the last things that I forgot to mention that was in the top pocket was took some Nisi ND filters along with the filters that I received from K&F to try. And these worked great on the shoot because you're able to adjust the position of the first polarizer in the ND stack. So you can actually use the variable ND and then reposition everything so that you can cut out reflections as well. So very nice, and the pouch was really good and convenient to change in and out filters when I needed them. So yeah, that was basically all in this bag. Oh, another last thing was that I had the Insta360 in the phone pouch here. Didn't end up using it because wasn't able to film behind the scenes, but I will use it tomorrow night because I've got another shoot tomorrow night at the location, which is exterior only. So I'll be able to film behind the scenes for that, which will be good. Even though I managed to fit all of this stuff in the Action X30, I think I'm gonna use a slightly different bag tomorrow, as this bag was pretty heavy and the padding on the straps isn't the thickest. So the bag that I'm thinking that I will use tomorrow is the Shimoda Action X70, which is the 70-liter version of the Action X30. So this is a 30-liter that can expand to, I think, 37 liters with the roll top. And this is 70 liters with the ability to expand to 77 liters with the roll top. This bag is going to enable me to easily fit all of this equipment without having to use the roll top and then the back compartment, so that I don't have to worry about the orientation that my bag's in when I'm taking gear in and out. And I should be able to leave the gimbal fully built in this bag because that's how big this bag is. So I'll show you how big the inside compartment is now. So this is really a full-on backpack. I've been able to put a fully rigged FS5 in it because of how deep this bag is. So I think there's a part of me that feels that this bag's probably a little bit too big for what I'm going to be shooting tomorrow in terms of like the amount of equipment that I'm bringing. But I think it's going to be a little bit more comfortable to carry everything versus my Action X30. In hindsight, I kind of wish I had the Action X50 as well. So they make a bag that slots right in the middle of their lineup. But I can't really justify buying another bag because, yeah, I've got so many backpacks. So this one I think is going to be the one that I use for tomorrow's shoot. It is huge, so I'm going to stick out like a sore thumb when I'm walking through the city. But I think it's just going to make my life a little bit easier tomorrow, just being able to access everything through the back compartment. And the padding on the shoulders is way thicker, so it's gonna make my experience taking all of the equipment into the city a lot more pleasant. I've just completed a preliminary pack of the Action X70 for the shoot tomorrow. Since the bag is so deep and a lot of the gear that I have is pretty short, it means that there's quite a bit of gap on the top. So it's not the most ideal pack of equipment, but I've used dividers and things like that to prevent things from bouncing around my bag too much when I'm carrying it into the city. My idea with the pack was to keep all of the heaviest stuff at the bottom of the bag. So I've got the gimbal and filters, as well as some mounting accessories for GoPros, as I'll probably be recording a time lapse tomorrow night as well of some stuff happening. So all of the gripping and gimbal arms and things like that, as well as the gimbal and battery and the ND filters, are in this bottom section of the bag here. And then I've got batteries as well as the charger. I won't be needing the charger, but this is a really nice way to store the batteries. The Volt grip for the GoPro Hero 10, which is a battery bank as well, so that can power the GoPro for extended period of time. Then underneath this, you probably might not be able to see it, but underneath all of that is the 70 to 200. And I've just used a divider to keep the lens from bouncing around inside my bag. There's that. And then I've got the 24 to 70, as well as the Tokina 11 to 16. And I have the K&F magnetic system on the front there, just as the cap. That goes just right at the top. Then in the very top here is all of my action camera stuff for both vlogging as well as time-lapse stuff for tomorrow night. And then in this last compartment is some SD cards as well as the camera. Fits nicely in there. There's probably a few other things that I will want to put in this bag, but I think for the most part, this is the kind of final camera configuration. The bag I think will feel pretty good. I haven't put it on yet, but I think it will feel a lot more comfortable than my Action X30, just because the padding on the straps on the Action X30 are slightly thinner than these chunkier straps. I mean, even the waistband has got a really chunky hip belt. So that's gonna be a lot more comfortable to carry the heavier load of equipment around the city. There's quite a substantial difference. One of the reasons why I decided to use the Shimoda Action X series of backpacks rather than my Think Tank roller to transport all of my equipment into the city was that since I was operating alone, I wanted to have the equipment within reach, and I didn't want to leave any equipment by itself, even if I wasn't too far away, because where I was filming on Burke Street, there was quite a bit of foot traffic, and the last thing I wanted was a person to take my bag and steal all the goods within it. So when I was looking for a place to set up the GoPro, I wanted it to be within view, as well as a place where I could get to pretty quickly, just in case anyone did decide to steal it, because I knew it was going to be set up for at least an hour or two. Once I'd finished setting up all of the equipment, I had the backpack on, so I was never apart from it, up until the very last couple of shots of the night where I was on gimbal, as it was going to be pretty cumbersome to operate the gimbal whilst having the backpack on. I'd love to hear how you go about managing your equipment when filming in public places, because it can be tricky at times to keep everything safe, especially when you're filming solo and are so focused on getting the shots you need. After wrapping up pretty late on the night shoot, I spent the next day prepping the Sony FX6 as well as FX2 for a shoot that we had the next day. It was for a TVC for a not-for-profit called Polished Man. It was going to be a big day of 8 interviews with 5 different setups within the one location. Each interview would be filmed by 3 cameras, with Matt Quattro coming on board as the second camera operator for this shoot. So we had 2 FX6s as well as the FX2, which would be the wide. Got to work with an awesome crew with Sam Pierce as our hair and makeup artist, as well as Nick Todorello as our sound person to round out the crew. Matt was running the wide camera, and we decided we were gonna try and use wireless transmission to our iPads so that the client had something to view, but since we were moving so quickly throughout the day, we opted to not use the wireless monitoring. One of the biggest things that we ran into on the day was that we were going through media quite quickly due to the fact that each interview was running for about 45 minutes long. Since we had 7 long form interviews, it meant that we were going through memory cards pretty quickly. And since I dual record on both of the cameras for redundancy's sake, we basically had half the amount of cards that we would typically have. In hindsight, maybe I should have just run them as a relay record so that we wouldn't have to data manage as much. And that's something that I'll probably do in the future because recording media is pretty good now, so you don't need to record with redundancy. But if you've followed my vlogs in the past, you know that I love a bit of redundancy. So maybe it's getting higher capacity cards, but with the landscape that is solid state media at the moment, it is so expensive to buy the larger SD cards now. That's it for this vlog. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.